Om Kala Ashpavahiti Saptarashmi Sahasraksha Ajara Bhuriritaha Tam Arohanti Kavayo Vipaschita Tasya Chakra Bhuvanani Vishwa. Time, that which moves so fast, undecaying. Time moves fast like a horse. All the beings of the world are like the wheels of the chariot that the horse is pulling. Mantra tells us about this quality of time, irreplaceable. You cannot borrow some, you can't buy some, you can't steal some. You get what you have, you use it wisely, it never comes back. Irreplaceable. We should not live this life like a wandering, lifeless person, letting the days pass like the proverbial rock sitting at the side of the road. Whatever happens to it happens. God gave us the intellect to determine what happens in our lives. My dear brothers, my sisters, my fellow souls, children of one God, namaste. Namaste. It is so great to see all of you beautiful souls sitting here today. That first breath of a baby that begins its life separate from mother. That first step of yours which begins any journey you undertake. When you lay in bed in the morning and your eyes open and that first thought in your mind which dictates how your day goes. And today, that first step you're taking with your spiritual family, which will determine how this year goes. And this is why I'm happy to see all of you here today. Like Dee reminded me when we were coming in. It's a beautiful rainy day. The right people will be here. Yes. So I thank each one of you, my spiritual family, for being here today to collectively take this first step in making this year better than last year. It is awesome to see you bright, beautiful faces here. This glorious day where we sit, we give gratitude to the divine as we celebrate stepping over that invisible line of time, this new measure of time given to us. I pray for a happy new year for each one of you. One of my favorite singers, Pradeep, he sings, Aya samay bhara bedanga आज आदमी बना लफंगा कहीं पे झगड़ा कहीं पे दंगा नाच रानर होकर नंगा चले और कपत कहा तो अपना बेच रहा है मान कितना बदल गया इंसान कितना बदल गया इंसान. Sad. I get the chills thinking how this song, it almost tells of the current state of the world today. A society that seems so sometimes dysfunctional and depraved. Humans being today seem like we practice such loose moral values. Fights and wars and hates and dislike define the society, it seems like. low values in people. People behave not in human ways. In greed, we sell honesty and trust. देख तेरे संसार की हालत क्या हो गए भगवान, कितना बदल गया इंसान, कितना बदल गया इंसान. सूरज न बदला, चांद न बदला, न बदले आसमान, कितना बदल गया इंसान, कितना बदल गया इंसान. Oh God, look at the conditions now of this beautiful world you've created. Look at what is happening to it. Look how man has changed, and sometimes not for the better. The sun hasn't changed, the moon hasn't changed, but man has changed so much. Such profound words from this great singer Pradeep. Sadly, it reflects the truth of today. How do we change this? My fellow souls, we all live in our own ways. We have our own schedules, our own habits, bad habits, good habits, addictions, daily rituals, jobs, and other things that we do daily and weekly and monthly. But we must examine ourselves and think about what we can do to influence good change in this world. Think about that for a moment. We can all be influencers of good change. You are Arya, noble. Nobility starts here, not outside of me. You begin to make the world noble by first making yourself noble. So, let us influence change in others so that they in turn can influence change in others in their lives. That change begins with us. That change begins with you. That change begins with me. You see, we are all trying to achieve the same thing: happiness. Jesus called it heaven and earth. Moses called it the promised land. Buddha called it nirvana. We say man ke shanti, peace of mind. If you say you have peace of mind, you say you're happy. In our life, when we think about reincarnation and moksha and our journey to moksha, we know what that means. But in this life, moksha means achieving freedom from suffering in this life. How do we achieve this? So on this first Sunday of this year, today I would like to offer all of us a new beginning. Hit the reset button a little bit. And I will give you a takeaway to maybe take with you, to remind you of the 3 things that we commit to today. That it is your choice whether you stick it on the wall next to your dresser where you could see it every day, or you throw it in the garbage. Again, your choice. I would like to ask each one of you as a part of my spiritual family to undertake this commitment today. I call it the 3 C's. There are 3 words, English words, that starts with C. It makes it easy to remember. It is what I practice. It is what my wife Dee practiced, my behen Ahilya, Bhai Chet, my behen Sharla, my behen Meena and family. I know that we do a lot into trying to practice these. Let's take it to the other level. Today I'm asking you to practice these with us in this new year. I promise you, and you will see the logic in it. If you were to practice these 3 things, you will find peace in your life. And these words are complain, condemn, and criticize. As in, do not complain, do not condemn, and do not criticize. If we were to avoid doing these three things, we'll find that it's so much easier to in this process of finding our own peace, finding our own inside happiness, to live in unity with each other. So let's examine these. The first C is not to complain. Why not complain? Well, I'll give you this little story. People have been coming to this wise man, complaining to all about their problems. And one day, his room was full, and he tells them a joke, and everybody laughed loudly. 5 minutes later, they talk. He tells them the joke again. They laughed again. 5 minutes later, he tells them the joke. A couple of them laugh in respect. A few minutes later, he told them the joke again, and nobody laughed. Same joke. So he looked at them and he laughed. He says, "You can't laugh at the same joke over and over, so why are you crying over the same problems over and over and over and over?" Makes sense. Change the things you can. Don't complain over the things you can't change. So, what do we really gain from complaining? When we complain, psychologically, Ben, Charlotte, you can tell everybody this. Psychologically, you feel like you're doing something, you've done something, because you're complaining, you're letting it out. When in fact, you've done nothing to resolve the thing you're complaining about. We just complain for the sake of complaining, and even though it's a waste of breath and energy, some of us become chronic complainers. We complain about everything. If something hurts, you complain about it, and you complain to everyone about it. If they have a problem in relationship, you hear it every time you see them. I'm sure you all know somebody like this, but let's not look at those other people. Let us look at ourselves. Do I do this? Ask yourself, do you complain? And do you complain a lot? And then ask yourself, what is it you complain about the most? And instead, see if you can do something about it. And if you can't resolve it, learn to live with it. And if, like our older parents, if your pain will not go away, then I've spoken to many of you, we make our peace with it. Make peace with the fact that the body may be in pain, but you are okay. Your legs may hurt, your back may hurt, your knees may hurt every time you try to move, but you are okay. That's your legs, that's your back, but you, child of God, you are okay. The next C is not to condemn. Who am I to condemn anyone else? That God gave me the authority to judge anyone else. That God gave me authority to condemn many of my own brothers and sisters. No, he did not. Even Jesus said, you see the speck in your brother's eye, but you don't notice the log in your own. So let us think about it this way. How do you like when other people judge you? How do you feel when you think everyone else is judging you? Then remember that for every fault which you see and condemn in others, you have a fault of your own. You are not perfect. This is why you will never hear me putting somebody else down or saying negative about anybody else. God bless them, it's all good. No matter what it is. Again, I'm sure you know someone who condemns, but let's not think about that person. Do you condemn other people? Do you find yourself condemning others at work and at home and a neighbor and a friend and all of that? And people who drive? Condemning others create enemies. Condemning others create dislike and hate. So instead, let us try to show patience, tolerance, compassion, and love. And the last one is, do not criticize. I'll give you a somewhat controversial example. Don't laugh at me. Imagine that you're in your kitchen and you look over your kitchen window and you see your neighbor. And every often you see him go over there and he kneels and he worships this stone in the corner of his backyard. He washes it with milk and honey and he offers it flowers and he prays to that stone. And you stand in your kitchen and you watch this spectacle and you're literally shaking with anger and frustration. You tell yourself, he is so stupid. What a waste of milk and honey when other people are starving. What a wasted effort. How stupid of him. Why can't he understand? You dislike him now for being stupid. Every time you see him worshiping outside that stone, it burns you up inside. You feel your inner animal growling with rage. You go and you tell anyone who would listen, your co-workers, your friends, and your family about your ignorant neighbor. On Sunday you come to Mandera and you tell people at Mandera about your ignorant neighbor. Then one day you confront him and you tell him off. In your self-righteous, pompous manner, you lambaste him, you lecture him on the omnipresent God. You feel good about yourself. Now, I will not get into that argument. But I guarantee you I could provide a very effective defense for either side of that argument. But my question here is, what is there to criticize? Who are you to criticize? Bhagavad Gita says, Buddhi janam asammoha kshama satyam dhamma samaha sukham dukkham bhavo abhava bhayam cha abhayam eva cha ahimsa samata tushti tapa danam yasho ayasaha bhavanti bhava bhutanam matta eva pratakvidaha. In these two verses, Sri Krishna tells us about intellect and knowledge and forgiveness and truthfulness and control of the senses. He tells us about what makes us happy and what we should not practice and what we should practice, all in 2 shlokas. But yes, we can recite those shlokas over and over. We might know them in our heads, but if we don't practice them, what difference does it make? It is saying that intellect, knowledge, freedom from doubt, delusion, forgiveness, truthfulness, control of the senses, control of mind, all of these are divine qualities that exist within each one of you. They're already there. Are we practicing them? You see, if we have control of our minds, if we practice forgiveness and love, if we understood the oneness principle, then we would better understand what the neighbor is doing. So why should I really criticize him? Should I really criticize him? No. And I will tell you why. From the littlest baby to the oldest person on earth, we are all human beings. Would you go to a kindergarten student and insist on teaching him college level material? No. Would be downright silly, right? Is that kindergarten student really ready to receive college level material? No. So why would it make any sense to insist on teaching him? Let's say you see this little kid and you decide to go and teach him anyway. All you're doing is feeding your ego. You see, we all exist at our own level of thinking. The things we do and the things we say are done at the level of thinking at which we exist. They are not wrong. They're doing what they best know how under the current circumstances. So if you decide to go and beat up on your neighbor and tell him how stupid he is, and he's not ready to change, how does that change anything? He will only change when he is ready to raise his level of thinking, not when you are ready to raise his level of thinking. That is how that works for every one of us. So we as Aryans must recognize the different levels at which people exist. I believe that Mother Earth is like a school. People exist in different levels of classroom. We cannot expect everybody to understand everything I understand or Pandit Vikrant understand. Everybody at their own level of thinking, but we help. Just like in school, people must advance from one class to the next. And if they fail a class, they retake that class. Sad to say, many people will stay in that class all this life. And that's okay too. God bless them. Who are we to judge? As children of God, we must practice tolerance, kindness, and patience. They're integral parts of universal love. So let me use this analogy. And all of you who drive will get this. Imagine you're driving on the highway and you're in the middle lane doing 50 miles an hour. The left lane is blazing by 80 miles an hour, much faster. But you're late and you decide that I must get into the left lane. We know that you cannot merge into the faster traffic at your current slow speed, so what do? You look for an opportunity to speed up so you could merge smoothly into their left lane. You must speed up to match their speed so you could blend into traffic. My fellow souls, this is why I'm pleading with all of you here today. Many of us have been too comfortable cruising along in the middle lane of life. I believe that many of us in our group, Purnima group, my Behan Sharla Bhai Chet, Behan Ahilya, Pandita Leela, all of you, you have been in the left lane with me for a while. I'm asking all of you to join us in this left lane of life. Let's make progress. Let's make measurable progress. Let's make it so that at the end of this year, you do not recognize who you are compared to the person last year. You have changed so much. Let's make it so. So, today, I want you to take this vow with me. And like I said, I'll hand it to you, but I'll give it to you after we speak about it. I don't want you to focus on this while we're talking. So please say after me. Om Vratena Diksham Apnoti Dikshaya Apnoti Dakshinam Dakshina Shraddham Apnoti Shraddhaya Satyam Apyate. And again, say after me. I take this noble vow, a vrat, that as of today, I shall try to lead a life of discipline. I will do what it takes to initialize Diksham, good deeds and discipline in my life and in my mind. I undertake this vow with Shraddham, which is dedication and devotion. I believe in myself. I will be Satyam. I will be truthful. And with this practice, I will change in behavior and faith. Thank you so much, my fellow souls. Remember what we always say. If we want to change what happens in our lives, we must change the things we do. And to change the things we do, we must change how we think. It all begins with thought. So beginning now, beginning today, let us consciously think and practice these 3 C's. Do not complain, do not condemn, do not criticize. I pray today that God grant you with that inner sense of hearing, that ability to hear the silent divine voice in your own heads, your intuition. May the Universal Mother grant you that patience to control your tendency to complain, to condemn, and to criticize. My wish and my prayer for a happy new year for each one of you. Thank you for giving me all your attention today. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. With love and humility in my heart, namaste to each one of you. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.